All right, we're gonna get full of spoilers here. We're gonna fill up on them or fill you up on them, whatever. For Wheel of Time, Amazon Prime's latest attempt at a giant fantasy based on book
Mhm.
series television show. Um, we are not yet graced with the hot trash that will be the Lord of the Rings show, so we get in its stead
So nervous. I'm so
Wheel
nervous.
of Time.
I'm sick. I can't even talk about it.
It's just an assumption. It could be great. It could be great. Wheel of Time. First three
Yes,
episodes out. You have a history with the books. I do
I
not.
do.
So we have
I
a
do.
diverse perspective here.
Mhm.
We'll be getting on later weeks to talk about further episodes. Another book fan,
Mhm.
Phil, to return and discuss this. But let's get started, and if there's anything you want to preface with for your liking or history of or whatever the book series you'd like to
Sure.
tell people, go for it. Otherwise, we can jump into episode one.
Sure. So yeah, to give my very brief history with the books, I started them, back in my teens. They are quite lengthy. If you've ever seen them or read them, they're big, solid books, and there are 14 of them in the Wheel of Time series, mostly written by Robert Jordan. Unfortunately, he passed away before he could finish, but he left extremely detailed notes for another fantasy writer, Brandon Sanderson, to come in and finish. I think he had planned on it being the last book, but Sanderson realized like there's so much material here. I need to split it out. And it ended up being 3 books, which was actually quite well received. As opposed to, when we in the movie verse try to stretch one book into 3
Yeah,
movies.
right.
Not great. This was actually a great choice. And the final few books are widely regarded as some of the best in the series, other than the beginning, of course. So I have made it through, to the best of my recollection, 9 out of the 14. I dropped off, unfortunately, when I was getting into college and just like didn't quite have the time to read these like huge, lengthy books. And they're packed with so much information. They're very much like Game of Thrones, where if you drop off, you can't just like pick up the next book. Or
Mm.
you can, but it's really difficult because so much has happened for so many different characters that you feel very lost.
You mean
So
you
I
can't
did go
skip one, or you can't like take the
you
long break and then jump back
you
in?
can't it's hard to take a long break because that's what I
Okay.
did. I tried to jump back in and then I was like, I'm not remembering anything, so I went back and restarted the books, got about to the same place, and then hit grad school. So clearly my problem is school. I need to
Yeah,
stop
right?
that,
Yeah.
and finish these GD books. Um,
Mhm.
but I've just picked up, the book before where I left off last time. I'm not gonna go all the way back to the beginning, I've decided. I'm just gonna kind of use a little bit of the show, maybe a little bit of Google, and then
Yeah,
picking up one before I left off to kind of get me back into where all the characters are. And I'm hoping to get through all of them now.
nice. Well, there
So,
are so many good synopses available,
there
you
are.
know, like
Yeah.
recaps, whatever. So,
Yep.
for sure.
So that's where I'm at. I am a fan of the books for sure. I do recognize though that the middle does get a little draggy and
Okay,
long,
sure.
but
All right. Well, how does the show translate for you? How's this
yeah.
adaptation? Only a few episodes in thus far,
Right,
but
right.
how's it holding up?
I think very well, honestly. It's very true to the source material. Obviously they have to condense a lot, but I think they're pacing major events very nicely and skipping some smaller things that just don't quite, translate from page to screen.
Sure.
I think they've chosen their moments really well. I think so far they've chosen their character journeys very well. Um and I think for trying to fit, I don't know if they're trying to fit all of the first book into 8 episodes, or if they're gonna be, saving some of the
Right.
first book for later
Yeah.
seasons. Um, I think their pacing's going well, and I think they've
Sounds like.
made. Sorry, I was just gonna say they
No,
made
go
some
ahead.
good character choices,
Okay.
and some character choices that I don't agree with, but we'll get into that in a minute.
Okay. Yeah, me having no context, I read one kind of as a person that's read it, sort of review. Um, they were just talking about, yeah, some of the similarities and differences or whatever. Is it is it true, or am I misunderstanding that the what is it, Dragon Reborn
Mhm.
or something, right? Is
Yes.
only supposed to be a dude in the books originally, and so
Yes.
it's strange that, because it seems like they're complicating it then with suggesting these other people. When, I mean, do you think that they're gonna like change that, and does that change the basis of the books, or do you think they're gonna stick with it? Does it kind of spoil something if you know that and it's like, oh well, it's gonna be
Yeah.
one of the dudes,
So I think they did this to make some things easier in the plot, to just sort of smooth over, like, Egwene needs to go with us because she could be the Dragon Reborn. And I just sort of feel like like, it didn't need to be that way. This was a choice I did have a hard time with, because it's very important in the books to the story that the Dragon Reborn be a male, because there's a whole thing about the One Power and men,
Hmm.
and that's like a huge part of the books. It's a major plot point um, for the Aes Sedai. It's a major plot point for our main characters. It's a major plot point for their battle against the Dark One. So I find it very strange that the show decided to like say that women could be
Hmm.
the Dragon Reborn. Um, again, I don't know if they were like trying not to waste time being like, well, Rain has to convince Egwene that she has to come with because she could be an Aes Sedai and she has the one power, and like, Egwene doesn't want to go, because there is that struggle in the books. Like, there is that struggle of
Right.
Egwene wants, the adventure. She wants this new life. She's excited, but she also like feels reluctant.
Hmm.
I don't know if they were just
Yeah.
trying to be like, let's go.
I suppose, I mean, when they mentioned that it could be a man or a woman, it wasn't people that were particularly knowledgeable about it, right? Wasn't it one of the like kids talking about that? Or was that someone
Yep.
of, so maybe that's what they've heard and that's not actually the case. And so, but I mean,
Well,
well, Rosamund
Moraine sort
seems
of
like
like,
she's trying to, like she's genuinely considering all of them.
yeah, that's what I mean.
So,
Like that I could have sort of bought or whatever, because they talk about in the show, oh, I hear the Dragon Reborn is gonna break the world. I hear he's got wings. I hear he's,
right.
flies around, whatever. So there's so much myth and so much rumor around the Dragon Reborn. I could have bought that, but then when Moraine says like it's one of you, and she includes Egwene, and I was just like,
Right.
I didn't need that.
Hmm.
I feel like that was a little
Because
disingenuous.
without spoiling like later stuff or whatever, doesn't it
I'll
I mean, isn't
try.
isn't the idea of then like men trying to harness this one power is like corrupting, or either they are corrupting of it, or it corrupts them,
So, yep. So
or
so here I'll quickly very explain, because it's in the first book. I feel like it doesn't really spoil anything. I mean, it will be a little spoilery. I apologize for those who are watching the TV show and haven't gotten to that, but it is like right away in the books. So, lore wise, it's pretty front and
Mhm.
center. So what happened was, in a past age in the Wheel of Time, um, a group of heroes called the Golden Company, led by the Dragon Reborn, was able to fight off the Dark One's forces and trap him in a prison within his like kind of his realm that he ruled. They were able to create, I think it's 7 seals, and trap him there and lock him away from harming the rest of the world. But as the dragon, sorry, not the Dragon Reborn, the dragon was channeling the one power to create the seals. The Dark One was able to kind of expend the last of his energy and touch the one power as the dragon was channeling it and tainted and corrupted it for men. So the way that the one power works is that it's yin and yang. There's a male side called Satan and a female side called Sadar. And the female side was not touched because a man was the one doing the channeling at that time that the dark one touched it. So that's why only women can touch the one power or the source, who calls it what, and be uncorrupted. Every time a male, since the dark one tainted the one power, has tried to channel, they've eventually been driven mad because of that taint. Every time they touch it, they go a little bit more insane.
Hmm. Yep. Okay.
So that's why every time a male tries to channel, the Aes Sedai are like, "Whoa, we need to tamp that down right now," because
Yep.
apparently one of the men who did after the Dark One tainted the One Power tried to channel went super nuts and killed a lot of people. To
Sure.
give a
Okay. Yeah,
super quick synopsis.
that's a good backstory. It's amazing in this show so far, and even you telling me that story, it conjures so many different things for me.
Mhm,
Like a lot of different. You talking about that? I thought Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time, and then
mhm.
I thought my own D&D campaign, and then I just like it's lots of and then going through the
It's a
show is
mythology
like
grab bag.
yeah, it really is a
Yeah.
lot of things. It seems like yep. Um,
Mhm.
Dragon Age as well with like
Mm.
some um in that and just in general tapping into magic is a
Yes.
corrupting kind of thing. Um but okay, yeah, it's good. So yeah, with that, that does seem really strange. But I mean, does that necessarily mean that so the dragon was a male with using the source, does that mean that he's gonna be reborn that way necessarily? Does that necessarily I mean,
Yes.
obviously the
So
danger is then if it's reborn as a dude, using the source would be a problem.
yes, so
So
that's obviously why, like I said, the Aes Sedai are so concerned with any male who shows the potential to channel. They're
mhm,
always it's weird, there's a push and pull. Some of the Aes Sedai are on the lookout for the Dragon Reborn, who they do genuinely believe is going to save the world from the Dark One, entirely. Not
mhm,
just, like, seal him away, but, like, finish the job and,
right,
kind of get him out completely. Um, and then other Aes Sedai, so those of the Red Order who you see in the very beginning are literally just like, men are bad, all men. There's no prophecy of the dragon reborn. We believe in. We literally just believe any male that channels. We've got to hunt them down,
right,
imprison them, or kill them.
right.
So there's
Yeah,
there's
that
kind of
was
a
a
tension there. In the books, it's a little bit more explained as like symmetry. You know what I mean? They talk about like the wheel of time. The wheel of time turns, one age passes, and then comes into being again. So they're saying like when the wheel of time turns and like the dragon is reborn, it's mirroring that first age of the dragon, in which
yeah.
of course the dragon was a male.
So is the turning of the wheel of time originally when I was they were talking about a little bit, I was just thinking of it more as a kind of a like reincarnation.
Yeah,
Individually,
they
like, you can come back and, like, you could try again next time, you don't remember
they
your
it's
past, and
it's kind of what it is.
is it the
They
world more? You mean, like, literally it's segment like, everything is set in a way, like,
no,
the
no, no,
world
no.
dies or something, and
No, they just believe like events that are happening will happen again in the
okay,
wheel of
okay,
time.
okay,
And people come back in the wheel of time.
okay,
Um, but it's not necessarily like a direct reincarnation. Like when they find out, not to spoil, when they find out who the dragon reborn is, it's not literally the dragon. He still has his own separate entity,
right,
spirit. And he doesn't just like come back into this person and it's like,
right,
"Oh, hey, I'm this
yes,
guy who I was."
right,
So it's not like direct like that, but there's again like a symmetry.
yeah. It's Zelda, because when you talk about sealing away the Dark Lord in Zelda, it's the 7 sages that do this or whatever and
Sure.
seal him in his own realm. Um, but he's always destined to come back. Like,
Yep,
always,
yep,
that's the way it is. The darkness always comes back again, and there will always be a hero to rise to defeat him. So it's kind of a chosen one. Link is
yes.
not the same Link in most games. It's it's that, if you want to call it reincarnation or whatever, it's the child of prophecy that is
Right.
destined to defeat the Dark Lord once more. And kind of the
Yep,
same with Zelda.
yep.
Um,
And that's basically the same
so
thing here.
okay. Okay. All right. Getting into like the episodes specifically here. So we
Yeah,
talked, we talk about casting, all this stuff. I have to say up front that
do it.
I was not particularly thrilled on episode 1,
No,
but
me neither.
um because I remember, so you and Phil were talking, and it's like, oh, is definitely not young adult and all this stuff or whatever. And I'm watching it, I'm like, I don't know. I don't like
Yep,
any of these people. I
yep,
don't There's something about the look of it that I don't
yep.
really love. Um, but
Yeah,
it got
episode
a lot
1 was
better.
not yes, episode 1 was not the show's strongest. I don't know, I feel like if I was in charge and, who doesn't wanna be in charge? Um, but I would not have started out with this particular episode.
Okay.
Not that the essential storylines wouldn't have remained the same, but just,
Mhm.
like, the way they told some stories, the way they introduced some characters, not strong. And there were and I know we're gonna bring this up, there were way too many Lord of the Rings references and call outs or, like, obvious similarities that I was just like, "Oh lord," like, I Phil told me this was good, and I'm so nervous because there were elements certainly that I thought there were a lot of problems in the first episode, and
Mhm.
I think 2 and 3 just, like, really improved.
Yep. I think they tried to sell people on like the effects and, make some action and stuff like
Mhm.
that. And I don't know,
There were
my Lord
certain
of the Rings
action moments
things,
that were good.
yeah, that I wrote down were like, there
Oh my
was a
god.
wispy voiceover. It was very Lady of the Woods, or Lady White,
Mhm.
whatever kind of thing. Like
Although
recounting the time.
I do have to say, didn't you like, though, that she said, like, 5 sentences and then was done? Thank God. I was so
Yeah, it was.
terrified they were gonna, like, go into, like, this whole thing. It
Hmm.
was gonna be, like, 12 minutes of exposition,
Yep.
and I was just gonna be like, "Oh, no." They just, like,
Mhm.
snapped to it. Thank
And then the
God.
ring abandoned him, and he was lost to time for many, yeah. Um,
It
but
abandoned Gollum.
yeah.
Alright. No, I won't do my whole intro spiel. Oh god.
I had, yeah, I just really, I think the biggest thing, because it's like, okay, well, some of the effects, whatever. I think that my issue was I didn't like people at this point. I
Sure.
just so there was the one woman that's like, I'm, you look to as a leader here, and I'm a protector, and I'll protect the village even against you if I have to.
Oh,
And
Nynaeve.
then and then shit hits the fan
Yeah.
and you don't do anything. I'm like, wait a
Yeah.
minute. Because and then, the one woman sworn into like the sisterhood. And again,
Yeah.
I'm thinking, okay, well, these are the people that are like training each other and they have some power and stuff. And again, they do nothing.
Yeah.
There's nothing there. They all have to rely on Rosamund Pike's wispy white strands everywhere,
Yeah.
So I was like,
So,
come on, what the.
no, I totally agree. I definitely have some thoughts about that. Number 1 is I had such a hard time in the books with Nynaeve. She was my least favorite character throughout so many books. She's always kind of that strong-willed to a point where you're just like, can you
Mhm.
just, like, take it back, like, a step, please? Like, you are a lot right now."
Right.
And she finally gets better in the later books, I think. She sort of, like, settles down. Um, and I'm not gonna, like, give a whole lot of spoilers. I'm gonna try and stay out of the books. But yes, she is a lot, and she is very unfortunately dislikable, but that weirdly is true to the books, I
Sure.
think.
Okay.
And she and Moraine like butt heads all the time in the books, and that's pretty legit. Um, so part of the reason is Nynaeve does have skill with the one power, and she can channel, but she just doesn't know it. So like so many people in these villages, like Egwene and like Nynaeve, um, they have the ability, but they've never really been taught like
Yeah.
formally what it
Sure.
is. So they like have these like small little abilities that they develop. Like Nynaeve
Yeah.
is a healer and like has all of her like potions and stuff, and she's got some power that way, but she like doesn't know how to use the one power to like throw a rock at a Trolloc, you know.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, their conception of what they're doing is so different. And that all changes in later books. But it is
Okay.
really tough to be like you're all acting like you can do something, and Moraine's the only one up in here like, throwing
Yeah.
down with the Trolloc.
Yep.
So it's
Yep.
tough.
Um, I'm also, and this is not improving so far for the most part. This is the one thing
Sure.
that's really not improving is
Sure.
I don't think I like the way this is shot or color graded.
I agree about the color.
It looks it's too contrasty. It looks like
Yep.
they just someone applied an Instagram filter. There are
Dark. The
there are
dark
parts
moments are
that
so dark.
it's where the blacks are getting crushed. They're
Yeah.
artifacting because it's too dark. And
Mhm.
I don't know if this was like a, an Amazon Prime compression thing or something, but I've
Yeah.
just not had this on other things.
Yep.
I get color flickers, like color patches. They're like skin looks blotchier and stuff at times because it kind of flickers
Mm.
between like tones almost.
Interesting.
Like,
I
it
don't know
just
that I've
doesn't
noticed
look
that,
good
but
that
yeah.
way. It's
Yeah.
grainy a lot, and that can be a style thing, but it's too grainy a lot of times. The opening shot where they're chasing those guys down, they've got tons of weird blown out highlights, and it looks
Yes.
really sharp, and I don't know. I don't like it.
Yep.
So,
I would say that's fair for sure. I feel like somebody didn't quite make a decision. Do you know what I mean? Like, they were sort of like,
mhm.
"Let's, like, feel it out and see how it goes." And
Yeah.
then they sort of were ended up with this, like, patchy, like, sometimes, like, in this shot that we're looking at right now, Moraine and Lan, it's, like, paler colors
Mhm.
and, more like we're getting into the real stuff. And then sometimes, like you say, it's that, like, sort of Instagram filtery, like, very low lit, like, smooth, warm tones, and the blacks are like super black, and like there's no leveling of colors, and it's like these shows look very different right now. They look like they are
Yeah.
not quite the same show.
Yeah. It's odd. So, I
Yes,
don't know. I
quite
don't know
odd.
what I hope that they change something with this going forward.
Hmm.
I mean, I know that one of my favorite shows of all time, Battlestar Galactica, had some inconsistencies, at least between like the pilot thing and then the
Hmm.
rest of it. So I don't know, stuff
Yeah,
they could change something.
I mean, a lot of shows do because they shoot a pilot and they just sort of have to like work with some stuff and then get picked up. And
Hmm.
then once they get picked up, they're like, look at all the budget we have. This
Yeah.
seems a little bit different because I feel like it's like it was a given season right from the start. But
Right. Yeah.
who knows? Maybe Amazon did put the show through kind of like a trial few
Hmm.
episodes, and then was like, okay, here's your full
Yep.
amount of money that you can go get it.
Right. They. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. It'd be interesting to see if it changes or progresses.
Yeah,
Um, wasn't something I was considering going in, but it bothered me a lot.
sure.
Pounces looks too clean. Yeah, but like I say, they intentionally sharpen things, and you get a lot of noise in spots or whatever. Um, I don't know. I notice a lot of times there's a lot in focus, um, so there's not a lot of depth. But
Hmm.
then I noted in I think episode 3, this one seems like did someone else shoot this part because it all of a sudden had this good depth that they were playing with. Scene between was he says his name is Lan and this one we're just looking at here. We are just talking about
Nynaeve.
yeah, Nynaeve. It was a scene between them, like she was gathering herbs and stuff,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
and it looked better. So
Mhm.
I don't know, but
Yeah, I mean, to Alan's point, yes, many times people look too clean. Um, I think part of that is, I mean, obviously in the first episode, everybody is like warm and safe and happy in their village.
yeah,
Where they clearly have access to running water as Moraine and Lan take a bath. Um, and in the books, one of Robert Jordan's like key points about Moraine, or one of her maybe personality quirks, is cleanliness. So there's like
mm,
her kind of like obsession is not obsession, I shouldn't say. But she has a thing about like being well bathed and well groomed.
mm.
So I don't know if that's like a weird, like convenient thing for this show to say like everybody looks so clean because like that's the thing in the books. Um, I don't know. Matt
Would she
Matt
let
though
someone?
Matt
Would
though
she let
kind of looks like rough and ready
Matt?
always. Um so he's the third friend who leaves from the village. He's got the dagger now that he
Oh,
found in Shadar
yeah,
Logoth,
yep.
with the two little
He's a more
sisters and
convinced.
stuff.
He is one of the more convincing ones for me. He does look more the part.
Dirty
Um,
peasant.
yeah, just I don't know,
I mean, he
like
is poorer than,
okay,
Rand and Perrin. So that's
okay,
kind of like a sticking point. Obviously, we see in the first episode that he's,
yeah.
begging for money and trying to steal things for money, and
Well,
his family's not
stop
well
making
off.
bets. That's not a good idea.
Well, yeah, I
So,
mean, it's so weird. On the one hand, you feel like so sympathetic, and on the other hand, like, yeah, obviously, like, stop gambling,
yeah, right.
dumbass.
Yep. So yeah, what do we think of the cast of kids here then, or the youngins? How
Yeah,
do we feel the casting choices were? For me, again, I have no context for the books, so like I would be coming at a different way, but like
sure.
from yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're broadly well done. Um, it's honestly hard to say after 3 episodes, but I feel like they're going in good directions. Um, so we have as we're looking at the cast, I'll just take it from the left. Perrin is on the way left there. He's our blacksmith, kind of our quieter, gentle giant sort of stereotype. That fits very well with what's portrayed in the books. Like Perrin is very, slow to speak, slow to anger, always like the calming, reasonable protector. So I think that's well done. They do introduce his like beginning bond with the wolves. So I
Mm.
dug that. That's definitely a big part of the books. So that was really fun. To the negative side, he does not start out in the books with a wife and does not kill her. Like, I'm not really sure why that
Yeah,
needed
why?
to be like an angsty
Yeah.
plot point that was introduced. I don't
See,
like it.
that sucks because I didn't like that. At first I see this guy, I was like, okay, I don't know what to think for sure, but he seems kind of
Yeah, sure.
dopish. And then he kills his wife or girlfriend or whatever. I'm like, oh my god, definitely this guy's a dope. Where I don't like this guy at all.
Yeah.
And in fact, I was very interested in his wife. I was hoping she was going to be a part of this more.
Yeah,
I don't know, it just
no
looked like an
idea.
interesting.
Yeah, no idea where that came from, who thought of that, why he needed some backstory there. I mean, I know, to be fair, he's not like he doesn't go through a lot of character development in the early books, so maybe they were like trying to do something. Not necessarily. Just spend time on other plot points. Like I was highly disappointed in that. Um
Yeah. God, that was one of the biggest bummers to me in the first episode, honestly. I really
yeah,
didn't like that.
I
And,
agree. I
so
agree. I
now in my
mean,
mind, he has, like, some work to do coming back from that.
well,
So
and I mean, the only thing I thought it was good for was his dreams. That was like a cool
sure.
scene when he like flips
Yes.
out and there's like a wolf like,
Yes.
eating his wife. That was cool. That was crazy.
Yep.
But yeah, no, the whole plot in general did not love that. Egwene, she is definitely the right amount of wildly stubborn and highly vulnerable at the same time. The
Okay.
the in the early books, Egwene is, like, all over the map emotionally,
Okay.
especially with her and Rand because they've been promised to each other since they were kids, like, they sort of expect their future together. She loves him, but doesn't quite know how to say, you know, "I don't really want this," which she, ends up doing in the first episode by saying in a roundabout way, "I'm gonna be Nynaeve's apprentice, which means I can't marry you."
Hmm.
Um, so that relationship felt very true to the books, and I think she's nailing a lot of, like, I don't know how to say that I love you, but I'm not in love with you when I know you're in love with me.
Right.
And that's tough. So
Hmm.
their relationship is all over the grid, which makes sense to me. Um
There's a moment
Now,
I didn't like with her though.
yeah,
It was in episode 2.
totally. I mean, she
Because
can she can have totally shitty bratty moments,
yeah.
which is true to the books too. I just mean,
Okay.
like, her
Yeah.
swings of character I think are very accurate.
Okay. Yeah, I she was starting off to be one of my favorite characters and then had this moment where she just like snapped. It's like, okay, you have one conversation with Rosamund Pike and
Mm,
you like her kind of here, and then you snap at Rand. I'm like, okay, Rand could be a little more reasonable here too, but you don't have to like, I forget what she said exactly, but like call him such an idiot or whatever
yeah.
for questioning this person that you know nothing of.
Yep.
And it's like to me, it's like finally, okay, Rand is saying something here. Let's get some answers. Let's have
Right.
some, because
Right.
I do not like shows or books or anything using the excuse of someone just intentionally for no good reason withholding information that would make things way better just so we can have conflict in the show,
Yes.
because people would ask questions and people would discuss, and if you don't have something to hide, you have something to hide if you can't
Yep.
answer the question, and so then you have reason to be skeptical.
Yeah.
So like,
So I agree. I think where, like, the show just sort of, like, missed helping the audience, like, make the dot connection is Egwene's outburst is probably equally about herself, in the sense of, like, yeah, that conversation was really affecting for her because it's offering her a chance to be Aes Sedai, which of course she's like, oh my God, like, I'm powerful, like, I'm meant for something, like, I've always wanted more and this is what I want. I can see that it's hurting Rand, and I can't deal with that, so I'm going to snap at him. And then also she's also snapping at Rand because of his rejection of her when she tried to go, like, lay down with him and, like, have, like, a best friend moment. When I think in her mind she was going to have a best friend moment, and in Rand's mind it was like, why are you teasing me? Like, that's not
yeah.
cool. So they're totally just, like, having
Mhm.
teenagery,
Yeah.
willful miscommunications, which they are teenagers, so sometimes that's gonna have to happen in the show, but I just think it wasn't quite as smooth as the show needed to be
Mhm.
for the audience not to be, like you, like, very off put by it, and I was
Mhm.
too in that moment. Um, and then for Moiraine, we learn later in the show that, of course, she can't tell a lie. She can talk around stuff, but she can't
Right.
lie. And so I think her in that moment, again, that the show didn't make very clear, was her trying not to lie when Rand is like, "What are we going to do at the White Tower?" And in her mind, she's like, "Well, you might die. I want to
Mhm.
tell you that. Like, you might be
Yeah.
imprisoned. Probably don't want to tell you that. Like,
Yep.
I don't know what awaits you at the White Tower. It's probably not super great unless you're the Dragon Reborn. Even then, the
Yeah,
Reds
you
are
might just
not
be a
gonna
threat. Yeah.
right, the Red Aes Sedai are not gonna be cool with that. So I might try to kill you anyway. So why don't I just, you know, go off and, like, be mysterious?" Wasn't a smooth moment. Wasn't a
Mhm.
smooth script moment.
Yep. I mean, ultimately, like you say, you wouldn't like the answers, but you're not gonna like the answers anyways. Oh, okay, go
Right.
off on your own. You're being hunted. You know, so you have a chance here to maybe be protected for a while, which
Right.
it's not working out so well. Um, or, so
And
like just being
yeah.
upfront about that, like, yeah, your future is looking kind of grim right now, honestly.
Well, and
What are you
and
gonna
to
do about
be
it?
right, and to be truthful, Moraine's got her own motives too, which are human ones. No matter what legend says of Aes Sedai in the lore says of Aes Sedai in the books. So they're a mix of good and bad,
Yep.
or good and potentially harmful intentions. Um, you know, they're her for her own purposes. So she's obviously not going to like share like I've got my own plans that I hope you're going to go
Right.
along with. But we just met, so hey, yeah, it's tough.
Yep.
It like I said, it was not a good script moment.
Well, what about some of the characters?
Yeah,
Maybe gone
so
through a
I'll
few.
I'll I'll round out Matt and Rand. Matt, I think is well done. He's very much like he is in the books. He's a gambler, trickster, does not like a good day's hard work. Would much rather be off having fun. Which is why he's susceptible to doing things like he did in episode 3, which is wander off in
Yeah.
Shadar Logoth and pick up that dagger, even though Lan expressly said, like, don't touch stuff.
Yeah. Right.
Um, so yeah, and he's always after that wealth, that power, like he really wants all of that. So that as much as he grumbles about going back to the two rivers and genuinely wants to protect his two sisters, um, he's also a little bit about, what if I'm a dragon reborn and I could be famous? I could have gold and women and you know what I mean? So
Hmm.
he's very shifty. He's got a
Yeah.
lot of competing motives, and he hides a lot of them from his friends because he feels like, "Oh my god, Rand and Perrin are so good. They won't understand my very base need for things like, money or, at a deeper level like clothing and shelter." So,
Sure.
he's definitely um relatable but flawed. And
Hmm.
I think the first couple of episodes have shown some good moments for him. Um Rand is the very like reluctant, like I would love to be, home in the Two Rivers with my dad on the farm and I had my whole life mapped out. Loved
Yeah.
it. Was super excited. I don't want any of this. Like let's go back. Um so he's very the reluctant hero
Hmm.
archetype, and I think not having too much else to do, the actor, playing Rand is doing a fine job with that right now.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, and then our two, Rosamund and Lana, I'm enjoying their stuff so far. Lan.
So, yes, I had a really hard time when they first popped up on the screen
Okay.
because in the books, there's a very, very big deal all the time made out of how short Moraine is. She's like 4 foot
Mm.
nothing. And
Okay.
it's always commented upon how short she is, how diminutive in stature, like,
Mm.
but she exudes such a powerful aura, like characters always forget that she's like looking up at them and she's like so tiny. And Lan is this like, you know, like mountain, think the mountain from Game of Thrones. Like he's just like a barrel of a man, which obviously this guy is not.
Right.
So it was very disconcerting watching them enter on the screen and
Interesting.
having that, like, preconceived notion in my mind. It was really tough. And I was like, "I'm gonna give it a
Wow.
shot," because obviously, like, that's a really hard pairing to find. I get that they wanted some star power with Rosamund Pike. I think she's a fabulous actress, so she can do a lot with any role she's given. Um, but yeah, that was really tough for me to see
Should have
at
got, like,
first.
one of the Fanning sisters or something, right, to do it?
Just
Like,
yeah,
they're
someone
tiny, right?
just yeah, like a tiny little bird person.
Huh.
Um, yeah.
I
So
suppose
that
it's
was
because she's producing as well. It's like,
right.
I'm invested in this show, I'm doing this role, like, it's
Which
happening.
go get it.
Mhm.
She's not doing bad. I mean, I'm not gonna, say there
But
are moments I think are clunky, but overall I think the performance is good so far.
but then they could have gotten, like, The Mountain. He's free.
I know, I was just thinking about
Yeah.
that. I was like, I mean, I don't know if it was like maybe gonna be too like on the nose, and he's not like, I mean, I don't want to be too disparaging, but he's not exactly like a nuanced actor from what I could see in Game of Thrones.
I
And
mean,
that is the
yeah,
thing about Lan, like the books are very like still waters run deep, and he's got a lot of very interesting backstory to explore.
sure.
So I don't know how maybe he would have done with that, but yeah, it was an adjustment. I'm
Okay.
liking their pairing together. I'm liking their chemistry, but it was tough initially.
Okay. Okay. I can see that. And then we had an episode two, a good old Lord of the Rings scene. Run to the ferry, run to the crossing, and it's like, oh man, wow, that's really on the nose. Um,
Yeah,
Ring wraiths chasing.
I
They're afraid of
know.
water.
I know. I know, it was terrible. There were two moments where I was like, "Okay, too much here." That was one of them for sure, where the fade comes up. Doesn't look like a ring wraith, actually looks like you watched the extended Lord of the Rings, right? He
Yeah.
looks like, the mouth of Sauron more, I think,
Oh yeah.
right?
Yes. Oh man.
Like,
Okay.
totally, I think.
Mouth of Sauron is amazing, and wasted in the movies.
I
He's so
agree.
cool.
So, maybe we're gonna have some cool moments here.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a huge, like, "Oh my god," like, I'm watching The Lord of the Rings, and the other moment was Rand's father when he was like, "All we have to decide is what to do with the time given to us," and I was like,
Yes.
"Gandalf,
I made
you
notes of
here?"
that too. It's like,
Like,
come on. Yeah.
oh! Yeah, no, Phil and
Mhm.
Phil and I talked about that too, and we were just like, "Way too on the nose. Please
Mhm.
stop." I don't want
Yeah.
Elijah Wood to, like, pop up with his, like, giant eyes and talk about a ring, like, nope.
I mean, that'd be a fun, like, Easter egg. He's just, like,
Eh
clearing behind a tree, he's there.
Mm.
Yeah.
Going to Moria, guys,
Mhm.
see ya. Um, yeah. So, yeah, those were 2 very, very heavy leans on Lord of the Rings that I felt maybe we could have done something better.
Yep.
But
I really like
unfortunately, the fairy is in the books as well, so
sure. I really like the opening of episode 2. That was a lot stronger. It was a much darker tone. Is very intriguing. Like, okay, who is this guy? He's, you know, being served. He's got the hands cut off for the woman that's gonna be burned.
Mhm.
Collecting rings. I like the,
Yeah.
the bloody fingerprints on the very polished
Silver Goblet, yeah.
goblet. Yeah. So I liked all that, and then I liked meeting those people. It's like, okay, these guys are gonna clearly be a problem, um, but they were a fun um, addition thus far, and intriguing
Yes.
side note to later events. Um, gave off gave off like Raised by Wolves, Church of Saul vibes.
Yes. Yeah, I thought the White Cloaks were well executed. They were creepy and terrifying and culty and,
Hmm.
um, like a great representation of the way they are in the books, especially, that questioner.
Yeah,
I don't know that they've said his name out loud, Eamon Valda. Um, he is just, like, wildly fanatic and horrible, um, which is the way he is, and it's
yeah,
it's a great, great job. Like, I love the whole way they're doing the White Cloaks, and I love their uniforms.
yep.
I always had a tough time picturing those, but I think they're unique and interesting, and also, like, now very clearly what I picture, you know what I
They're
mean?
kind of some sort of like Sith robe, like a Kylo Ren plus some sort of Sith Lord, but completely white then?
Yeah, but then they've got, like,
Yeah.
the metal, like,
Arm thing, that
armor,
looks nice, yeah.
shoulders.
Mhm,
Yeah, and clearly signifies some ranks and things like that, so I
mhm.
enjoyed that.
Yep, yep, I agree. The dreams have been good, as we've talked a little bit. The
Yeah.
bats, pulling that out of your mouth, that was good. It's like, "Oh, what you got in there?" So
Yeah,
that's
and I
pretty
liked, I like the way they portray the Dark One in the I think they did a good job of, like, visual affecting
with the red eyes
there.
and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So I think he could have been dumb, And right
Sure.
now I'm finding it, not like, oh
Hmm.
my God, I'm so scared, but creepy enough to be like, oh, okay, good job.
Yep. Yep. Um, then we got into some moments. Let's see. Yeah, it was episode 2 yet. Yeah, where some things reminded me of Shadow of the Colossus and its like partner game Eco.
Hmm.
The shadow stuff coming and the ruins and everything like that were very reminiscent to me of this. So I liked the ruins. I was interested in that. Um, and the shadow in like in Eco, things come out of the shadows to like grab you and pull
Mm,
you in or whatever. So this
sure.
is
Yep.
obviously a little different, um, but
Oh,
yeah,
poor
I
horsey.
liked these moments. Yes, yes, for sure.
Oh, that was horrible. That
Um,
was horrific. Again, great use of special effects. That was
mhm.
horrifying.
But there was stuff that I really, a lot of moments or the towns or whatever, kind of unimpressed by. But then I like the wall with the crack, the city walls or whatever,
Yeah.
and the scale of that. I think that was good. Um, some things were a little fake looking or whatever to me, but I
Yeah.
some like the lighting on the person didn't exactly match what they had there, whatever or something. But yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
I enjoyed um yeah, see, oh, sorry, here's the fade for those of you who are
mm,
watching. Total
mhm.
mouth of Sauron, right?
Yep. I
Yeah.
mean, he hasn't developed fully yet because Mouth of Sauron is like it's really
Right. Right. It's
big,
yeah.
but yes,
But yeah,
yeah, I thought he
that's
was
the
cool.
vibe I'm getting.
Hmm. Yep.
Um yeah, I was just gonna say I really enjoyed most of the effects in Shadar Lagoth. Um like the big giant wall was I feel just as impressive as the shots of the wall in Game of Thrones. You know what I
Sure.
mean? When they were doing that exterior shot, I thought that was fantastic.
Hmm.
Um, the development of the interior, you're right. There were some exterior shots that were like, this is clearly flat. That's not actually a building like down the row
Hmm.
back there. And dimensionally, it was a little tough
Yep.
to swallow that this was a full grown city. But yeah,
Yep. Did you buy the one guy not telling everybody about his injury? Like, is it just like I don't want to
Aaron,
bother anyone else, right
yes,
now?
yes and no. He's totally self-sacrificing like that, and he's clearly, like, atoning for killing Layla
Right.
by being like, "I'm just gonna suffer, and, like, I
Hmm.
deserve this." That's very Perrin. Um, I think it's a very weird, specific thing to have him suffer through, um, when, like, he could very easily be slowing the group down, and I'm surprised he hasn't gotten an infection, not because it was, like, a Trolloc blade, but, like, just literally
Right.
because he has not taken care of that thing, and they've been going and going and going and riding and, you know, clearly not stopped to let anybody know that he needs care, so,
Right. Yep.
um yeah, so I bought it, but I'm not it's hard. I really like the character of Perrin, but they're doing some very weird things with him right now. And I think it's just to give him more interest, and I kind of want them to stop that. Stop
Sure.
giving him just like, we think this is interesting, we'll have him do it. Just like let his storyline play out a little bit more.
Yep. Well, our group runs into trouble. They all get separated. This feels like a
Mhm.
good D&D scenario. We got our party now into 3 groups.
Mhm.
Obviously our big twist at the end or a big shock at the end of episode 2 is that our favorite lady is back and is survived. I'm going to slit your throat, Lan, if you don't, bring me to that all my friends.
Yep.
Um which immediately asks like how did you find what?
Mhm. It's
So
again, it's
I'm
a whole thing in the books.
okay. Yeah. So we'll see if they explain that because obviously they start to address it in episode 3, and then
Right.
she doesn't answer. So I figure there's something to that.
Yes.
Um, but it's like I was happy to see her do something and survive what would happen to her and everything. So
Mhm.
that was good.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, yeah, I was gonna say she again, it's a whole big thing between her and Lan and Moiraine, like how she kind of comes back and follows them. And again, it's that sort of much like Egwene, who they keep, kind of reminding us she's not much older than. She kind of is longing for this like adventurous life and more important things to do, and this is kind of a really great excuse of like, well, I'm following my friends and I need to protect them and make sure they come to no harm. It's my job as
Mm,
wisdom. And like
mhm.
Moraine constantly reminds her, like, you're the town wisdom though. You could just go back. Like,
Right.
you have a
Yeah.
whole town back there
To take
who you
care
could be
of and help out,
protecting. Yeah.
which you did a bang
So
up job of last time.
I
You
know,
really
just
did great.
absolutely nailed it. Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, so there's a whole like push and pull there that I'm hoping they'll get
Mhm.
into.
Yep. So they're all separated. They're on the run. I thought it was interesting that they were running from the wolves again, but it's like to me in my mind, it's like, didn't you learn from last time? It seems like the wolves were coming after you, and then they just licked your wounds.
Right.
So, and they
Right.
suggest that later. It's like the wolves led us here or something. So, but it's like
Exactly.
I feel like I would have made that connection. Maybe if you're not like used to dealing with magic and weird stuff, you wouldn't in real life. But as a viewer, I'm like, they're probably not going to hurt you. Probably
Right.
help you out.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's again a weird like how do you tell this? Um because of course Egwene doesn't know that. And then
Right.
Perrin is like, how do I tell her that like this wolf came up and licked my wounds? Like, isn't that a weird thing? I should probably not tell her. Like, I'll just run with
Yeah.
her. But like you can't really convey
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
to an audience. So it comes off really clunky, like, oh, we're being chased by wolves. Oh, wait, the wolves led us here and are helping us out. That's so crazy.
These guys, I met them before. They're cool.
Right? My
They're with me.
buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so then we're in with the other set, um, Rand and stuff. So it's kind of
Rand and
interesting
Matt. Yeah.
yeah, to see them trying to decide what they want to do, kind of, pulling interests here, seeing Matt sort of like try the opposite of the other group, where
Yeah.
it's like Matt is saying, hey, she's probably dead, you know, and she's likely, or if she's not, just gone home or whatever, or what, you really just discouraging for sure.
Yes.
On the other side, it's very like, well, he'll go wherever you go because he's
Mhm.
gonna be your little bitch.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it was a fun tone dynamic. Them working, and then like you say, seems emblematic of his character getting out of doing whatever
Mhm.
he, real work.
Totally.
And but I nonetheless I liked the interactions. I liked the bard. It's like
Yes, Tom Maryland, he is a huge part of the book, so I am hoping to see more of his
okay,
character.
it was great because I wrote this bard in my own campaign. And I'm always looking for, like, songs that
Oh
would
my
be
god, isn't his
appropriate.
song
Yes.
just amazing? I loved it. Loved it right off the bat.
Mhm. 'Cause
Sorry.
so many bards are, like, kinda chipper, or they're
Mhm.
real young or something like that. It's like, that's not the bard I wrote. I don't want these songs that are like elves sang, like, I don't know, whatever. And
We're going
so
through the grass and the fields in the
y
spring and the
yeah.
flowers and the harvest and the stuff. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. So I'm like, I'm stealing this song. I'm using this song in
Yeah.
my campaign
It's
because
awesome.
yeah, it was a good song. It was a good performance. And then it was an interesting character later. And it seems like he could be a good influence on on Matt. So it's not he's not, you don't have to think of him at first. He's there for himself, it seems, but
Mhm.
he's not a bad guy. He's really to give his money back and all that stuff, trying to
Right.
do right
Yeah.
by burying someone.
I I hope I'm not being too spoilery here. Um but so part of his influence in the books here is that he is going to help Rand and Matt get out of this town, and take and kind of help them along the next part of their journey and take them as his like fake apprentices. And
Hmm.
it's really like a whole fun arc, and he's got more in later stories. He's, like I said, a very big character actually. But I'm hoping to see that in the next couple of episodes,
Sure.
that this is we're going to stay to that storyline. It's like
Makes
he
him
said, I
try to
think
play an
he's,
instrument or
yeah,
something.
well, I think he has Matt maybe try to like throw knives or something, and
Hmm.
he keeps like trying to do like 60 million different things for Rand, and Rand is hopeless at like everything because he's too straight. You know what I mean? Like
Sure.
there's no like artful entertainment flair, whereas Matt is, a talker.
Mhm.
He's an entertainer. He's, gonna have a drink with you. So,
Yep. Uh,
I
okay.
do have to say, I loved this town because their scenes in this town because I thought it set up some very important points. Like one with the dark friend that they met, the
Yeah,
inn owner.
that was surprising.
Who, yeah. So she's like, obviously like an agent of the dark one on the lookout for them. She, the way she gets messages she communicates is through dreams. She said they've been appearing in her dreams, so she knows to look for
Right.
them. So
Yeah.
obviously that sort of underscores Maureen's point about dreams being powerful.
Yeah.
And then the second piece of information that we get is that she says, heard that there were four of you, but you two are important.
Hmm.
So we get
Okay.
that it's like a total throwaway,
Yeah.
just a super brief second. But from that, you get we're setting Rand and Matt up
Right.
to, like vie for and have this like tension of like who's the dragon reborn.
Sure. Yeah. It's a good point. Yeah, because they'll probably replay that moment in their head a lot for
Hmm.
sure.
Well,
That's cool.
especially like what I was talking about, that part of Matt that, there's the one part that wants to go home and just be with his sisters and live in the two rivers. And then
Mhm.
there's the other part that's like, I want fame, I want glory, I want, you know,
Yep.
the wealth and people chanting my name and things.
Yep.
I want the material things. So that's, there's obviously going to be a little part of him that's like, ooh, I like this, and I
Well,
and I don't know that
yeah.
I want Rand to take it away from me because Rand gets everything.
Mhm. Well, and it was interesting with Rand and her in the room because I'm like, at the
Mm,
time watching him, like, okay, this is maybe this is getting a little flirty. Don't, like
mhm.
you've got your girl already, don't do this. And then he doesn't. But then thinking about it, and as we've talked about and stuff as well, it's like, no, you should have just gone. I mean, obviously he probably would have been killed doing that,
Oh,
but
yeah.
he should have like should have gone for it. It's like, fine, she's gonna leave me, She
Right?
chose larger, bigger, better things, than me. So like go for it then. But yeah, ultimately a wise decision. But it
Yeah.
doesn't bode
But
well
y
for him being able to accept um the path that his love is taking, you know.
I
So
won't I won't say many things. There's so many things I could say right here, but, probably I'll just stick with, yeah. I mean,
Mhm.
it does not bode well.
Yep. But it was yeah, it was fun, unexpected for sure. And so yeah, I was much more inclined as episode 2 and then 3 for sure went on to notice less of the flaws that
Yes,
were like I couldn't stop noticing in the first episode and stuff.
totally agree.
Um so
Totally
yeah.
agree. And speaking of flaws in the first episode, because we were talking before the cast, about pronunciation, name pronunciation.
Yeah.
And, you were like saying, like, I don't know. I don't know who these people are, like how you pronounce their names and whatever. From reading the books, I had very specific pronunciations in my head. And they are written out in the books to like help readers, to try to get that. That there was one notable deviation, and I don't know if I'm wrong or the show is wrong. I'm gonna believe the show's wrong just because it's so locked in my brain. So Land's last name, they introduce him right away, and they say his last name, and they say Mandragoran. And in
Mhm.
my mind, it was always Mandragoran.
Okay.
It's a
Mandragoran sounds better.
I think so. So we had this whole conversation before the show about how I listened to Harry Dresden, and in the books,
Mhm.
the gangster is John Marcone, and in the audiobooks, it was Marconi, and I hated it. So I feel like the similar situation is happening here, where I like Mandragoran, and they said Mandragoran, and it just I don't know if it was like the way they said it or the way it was introduced, and I was just already shocked that Land didn't look like I was expecting him to look, and then they add this different name on top of it. But I was displeased,
Mm.
displeased indeed.
I mean, I'm gonna get on team Whatever you said. Yeah, I'm on that
Thank you.
team. Yeah,
Mandragoran.
Mandragoran. Yep. It just sounds more more real, less like a made up thing. You know,
Mandragoran? Yeah.
Mandragoran sounds like I don't know, you're a man dragon.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah. And
Mandragoran. Oh,
there's
what's
just like a
that?
whole cool thing with Lan in his backstory from the Borderlands, and I just don't know about calling him Mandragoran. I don't know.
Mm,
Maybe if it was just like a slightly different pronunciation, I would be okay with it. But yeah, I just wasn't feeling it.
they might never say it again.
They might
And
never
so,
say it again. Like we were
so
talking about, they don't call each other by their names often, by their
mhm,
full names less often, which is, good because we don't talk like
mhm.
that in real life. But yeah.
Yep,
Something, when you were talking about noticing the flaws in episode 1, it was something I got a little stuck on for sure.
yep, yep. All right.
All
Well, it was
right.
sad we didn't have Phil here to get his thoughts, but he'll catch us up on his thoughts later. And this was probably
Absolutely.
enough getting ours, and we had the nice, clear and concise kind of like contextual fill in from you here.
Mhm.
So um, I think that's all good.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's I didn't talk about these. Let's see, filthy gypsies show up.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
and
The
and
Tinkers.
yeah,
Tuathan.
yeah, and so there was some
They're
good
also
blood
gonna be
pumping
important for a
stuff at
while.
the end.
Mhm.
Yeah. So okay, I I should say, I didn't introduce what my drink was. It's almost
Oh
gone
my
now.
god, you didn't. It's so funny.
Yeah,
I thought about that earlier and then got lost in the lore of Wheel of Time. Tell us about
yeah,
your festive fall beverage, sir.
yeah. So it's
Your autumnal.
peanut butter. Yes, my autumnal drink. Yes, I got to use that a lot now. My It's peanut butter whiskey with
Ooh.
eggnog, and then like pumpkin spice on top.
Oh
So
my goodness. That's
yeah,
just like all the holidays in a glass.
I know,
How
right?
uh how you doing with it?
It's good. I mean, it's very
Good?
sweet. That's why it's a small
Okay.
glass with had a lot of
Sure.
ice in it, but yeah, yep, good stuff. So I
Excellent.
didn't come up with a drink called Wheel of something or another, or
Oh, I know. Next time though.
I could
We'll
call
have to
the
we'll
I
have to
could I'm gonna call it the dirty white coat.
the dirty white coat. There you
Yeah,
go.
because they're shady and they got dirt on their hands right away. Drink is very white, and I had sprinkles on top and stuff. So
Yeah, I'm trying to
dirty
figure
white
out
coat.
like what mine could be. I mean, it looks kind of like the yellow Aes Sedai. So that's what I'm gonna call it for now.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
See.